All right, so today we are going to be talking about measurement, the metric system, and conversions. Now, you guys do a lot of different measurements with all kinds of different things. Okay, so there's distance, length, width, and height. Okay, those are generally kind of grouped together in the same thing. Think about for a second what you use to measure those things. You would probably think, oh, I measure a ruler, I use inches, I use feet, maybe I use yards, things like that. If you're thinking of longer distances, you probably use miles. Okay, what about volume? Volume is how much space something takes up. Okay, what about mass? Okay, mass is how much matter is inside of something. Okay, a very similar measurement to mass would be weight. It's a little bit different, which we'll talk about, but what do you use to measure mass? You would probably say something like pounds or ounces or something like that. How about temperature? You use a thermometer to measure temperature, right? What units do you use? Do you use Fahrenheit? Probably yes, okay? And how about time? Time, you use minutes, seconds, hours, weeks, months, years, all that kind of stuff, okay? Now, there are lots of different measurement tools, okay? For example, some basic ones, there are rulers, there are meter sticks, and there are tape measures, okay? There's lots of other things, but when we're talking about distance, those are the things that we generally use to measure distance, okay? Now, the metric system is a different type of system that is used that most of the world uses and the United States doesn't. Okay, so that's why you guys know about, feet, feet, yards, miles, stuff like that. But most of the world actually uses meters, kilometers, centimeters, things like that. Okay, now the metric system is far superior to the English system because here's the thing: the meter is the base unit, and every other unit to measure distance is based off of the meter, and it's based off of quantities of 10, okay? So kilometers is 1,000 meters, okay? 100 centimeters is 1 meter, okay? So it's all based on powers of 10. Whereas the English system, that's the one that we use with our, feet, inches, that kind of stuff, is just based on arbitrary numbers, okay? So for example, you guys all know that there are 12 feet in 1 inch. And some of you probably know that there are 5,280 feet in a mile, okay? But that's probably the extent of that, okay? How many feet are a rod? You probably don't know that, okay? There's all kinds of different things in the English system that are just kind of arbitrary and don't make a whole lot of sense. And when they don't make a whole lot of sense, it makes it difficult to convert between one unit and another unit. In the metric system, all you got to do is multiply by 10 or divide by 10, which is really easy because all you're having to do is just add a 0 or take away a 0. All right, so for measuring volume, okay, it's the same idea. We have a few different ways to do it. The main one is a graduated cylinder. So these three things here, these are three different sized graduated cylinders, okay? They are used to measure liquids. And when we measure them from the bottom of the meniscus, okay? Excuse me. Now, a meniscus is when you put liquid into a cylinder, the liquid kind of adheres to the sides of the cylinder, and the middle of it kind of like makes a little curve. Now, we're going to measure from the bottom of that curve. That's how graduated cylinders are used to measure. So again, we have metric system units, we have English system units. Metric system is the liter, that is the base unit. And then another common one that is based on the liter is the milliliter or the centimeter cubed. Okay, now milliliter and centimeter cubed are pretty much the same thing. Okay, 1 milliliter is the same as 1 centimeter cubed. The only real difference is when you're measuring the volume of a liquid, generally you use milliliters. When you are measuring the volume of a solid, generally you use centimeters cubed. That is not a hard and fast rule. That's just like a usually kind of thing. Now, for the English system, we have gallons, we have quarts, and we have pints. And I don't know how to get rid of this thing. Otherwise, I'd move that. But underneath it, it says pints. Okay. Now, you can probably figure out that there are 4 quarts in a gallon because it's named quarts. But how many pints are in a gallon? How many pints are in a quart? Probably don't know. That's because the English system is dumb. And we should always use the metric system. And we are always going to use the metric system in this class because it is far superior. Hooray. All right. So next we have mass. The most common measurement tool for mass is a balance. This right here is an example of a balance. You guys, I'm sure, have seen some sort of version of a balance. You put something on it, the digital readout tells you how much it weighs. It's that simple, okay? Metric units for mass are grams, kilograms, milligrams, and there are more than that, but those are the main ones. They're all based on grams, again, because it's a metric system. It's all based on powers of 10 of grams. English system, there's an English system unit called a slug, and a slug is 32.2 pounds, okay? That's weird, right? Did you know that? I didn't know that. Actually, I did because I'm telling you that, but that's kind of an obscure thing, right? We also have pounds, ounces, tons, which those you guys have probably you've probably heard before. But again, these are much more complicated in converting between the two things than the metric system. All right, so for temperature, we have a thermometer. So here's a thermometer right here. I'm sure you guys know or have seen thermometers before. Thermometers measure temperature in either Celsius or Fahrenheit. Okay, now again, Fahrenheit is the English system. That's a really weird, complicated system. Celsius is a much more streamlined system. Now you might say, well, Fahrenheit's not complicated. That's easy. But if you really think about it, what is the freezing point for Fahrenheit? 32, right? That doesn't make any sense. Why is it 32? Like, where did that come from? What is the boiling point of Fahrenheit? I'm sorry, I should specify. Freezing and boiling point of water. So 32 degrees is the freezing point, and 212 degrees is the boiling point. Which again, like, why? Why is it 212 degrees? That doesn't even make sense. For Celsius, the freezing point is 0, which does make sense, right? When you have 0 degrees, water turns to ice. The boiling point for Celsius is 100, which again makes sense. When it gets to 100, it's boiling. Okay, it's much easier. The metric system is much better. Okay, so next is measuring time. Now, of course, you guys know how and why to do this. You guys have seen timers and clocks before. So this is there's not really a different system for this. There's not like a metric system and a English system because that's pretty much universal in throughout the whole planet. So we have seconds, we have minutes, we have hours, and days, years, decades, and etc. So those are a little bit trickier to convert than normal metric system stuff. But again, that is a universal thing throughout the whole world. So there's not really a lot we can do about that. And that is it for this situation right here. And I will see you next time.